today's program, Reviving Kazakh Crafts. Summer Camp for Nomads. Kazakh food with a twist. Salam, привет, and hello. I'm Dennis Keene, and today on Discovering Kazakhstan, we will be discovering traditional Kazakh culture. From textiles to traditional Kazakh horseback games, the Kazakhs have an amazing array of traditions that have not been lost to time but are being preserved to this very day. Come along as we explore the traditional life of Kazakh nomads. We're starting our journey into Kazakh culture in the city of Almaty, where a new center has opened that is dedicated to revitalizing Kazakh handicrafts. There we met our old friend Aygul, who told us that her new project is a sign of a new golden age for traditional crafts. We met Aygul Jansirikova on my very first episode of Discovering Kazakhstan when I was learning how to make felt carpets. And we've since gone and traveled around the country while you've been here in Almaty, slowly building your empire. And at the same time, I've seen that Kazakh crafts, this sphere of yours, has grown so much in the last few years. And this is a great illustration where we are now, this new crafts center.
Yes, exactly. Kazakh crafts are growing. And we have now supports not only from international organizations, also from governmental side. And in 2017, our Akimat of Almaty city supported to open such a big center with where we can show not only products, also to make master classes.
From a visitor's perspective, I can see that this place is really special because you can come here and see all sorts of Kazakh crafts, but you can also go behind the scenes and see how they're made.
And to understand how difficult to do something, even small.
Right. So here they have an assortment of different workshops that we're going to be able to get to visit, see how these textiles are made, see how different leather and silver products are made, and it's going to be a real joy to see how these Kazakh traditions are being kept alive in this new art center. Until now, it's always been surprisingly hard to find good traditional souvenirs in Almaty, even though it's the country's biggest city. Tourists come seeking the carpets and felt goods that they've read about in guidebooks, but actually it's much easier to find shopping malls that sell the same international fashion that's become ubiquitous with globalization. That's why I was so happy to find this place, where you can get everything from folk instruments to scarves, leather wallets to slippers. But the really cool part is that you can go behind the scenes and see how all these things were made, as the craft workshops are located just behind the showroom walls. The first workshop that you'll come across at the craft center is that of the zerger, or jeweler. In this case, a young craftsman named Togan. Kazakh jewelers make everything from earrings to rings to necklaces. And it's a necklace that he's working on today, a large amulet that will hang at the end of a silver chain. Silver is the most popular material that is used by Kazakh zergers, and it is a material that is full of meaning. Silver always had cleansing properties for Kazakhs. So for example, whenever they would cook food, they would always wear some kind of silver rings in order to keep it hygienic. But here we can see that he's using silver to make a kind of necklace. And the finished products truly look stunning. Just look at how much detail with these fine silver beads that will eventually work into the piece. And the shapes themselves have some meaning as well. So with this kind of necklace, for example, you can see this kind of cylinder. It in fact opens up so that you can put a scroll inside, perhaps with some kind of prayer or good wish. Leatherworking is a craft that seems especially Kazakh to me, dealing as it does in a material that comes directly from the Kazakhs' most treasured cattle, from their cows, their sheep, and their horses. After the hides are cured and dyed, they can be used to make a wide variety of products, from bags to purses to little leather amulets like this one. Now, if you look close, you can see that on this kind of amulet, they've stamped a symbol. The symbol is called a tamga, and traditionally would have been used to mark some kind of cattle to show which tribe it belonged to. Curiously enough, now it's being stamped on the leather itself to say which kind of tribe its wearer comes from. Based on the findings of archaeologists, it's thought that one of the most ancient of Kazakh crafts is pottery. Terracotta vessels like this vase have been made by Central Asians for centuries, for storing grain and even dairy products. What I like about pottery is that we can see when masters are at the potter's wheel, like our friend Bota here, the final project can come alive before your very eyes. As she's working this clay, she may not even know what it's going to become, but as it spins round and round, it slowly takes shape. Felt work has to me always seemed like a kind of alchemy, taking these kind of messy strings of sheep wool and pressing them fiber by fiber until they stick together to make a whole world of crafts, everything from clothes to business card holders. Yes, indeed, this is a holder for business cards. Business cards, or vizitki, are something that Kazakhs will use in every business encounter. No matter who you meet, they always have some kind of little card with their contacts. But now, a Kazakh can even carry his business cards in style. Little tchotchkes like this are a great example of how designers like Aigul are taking this traditional material and pushing it in new directions. Felt traditionally would have been used more often to make carpets like this that would hang on the walls of a yurt. But even looking at this wall hanging now, the design itself is quite innovative. Normally we would have seen some kind of symmetrical design with horns and patterns, but here we can see petroglyphs, an imitation of cave drawings that can be seen all around Kazakhstan. Felt, with its fuzzy fibers that stick together, creates patterns that are by nature blurry and indistinct. But the Kazakh art of embroidery, or keste, is quite the opposite. With this technique, you can make patterns that are incredibly precise. Here we can see that Goje Apai, our master here, is making a kind of wall hanging called a tuskigiz. This embroidery can be used to make this beautiful kind of symmetrical design. Just look how many different axes of symmetry you can see in one work. Coming out from the center of this circle all the way around the border, this kind of wall hanging can be hung any way. But these patterns can also be used to make not just rugs, but even traditional Kazakh costumes like the shapan, the robe that the master is wearing today. Before you can start on any kind of work of embroidery, you need the raw materials themselves. But Kazakh nomads couldn't just run down to the sewing store to get whatever they needed. They had to make all of the materials by hand. So how do you transform wool into the fine thread that is necessary for embroidery? You use this kind of drop spindle. Now, our master here, Kurlian Apai, was telling me that this would be an activity that was reserved mostly for the cold winter months. You would have long, dark nights with not much work to do, so the women of the family would sit around spinning this wool into thread. The wool itself was collected in the spring when the sheep were sheared of their fur, but only the finest fur that is on the back of the sheep would be used for this kind of thread. The other shorter, less quality fur might be used to make felt. The last kind of textile that we can see at the craft center is one that is for me the most familiar: quilting. Quilting has been done by Americans for generations, but usually to make some kind of coasters or a kind of covering for a bed. Here, this korak korpe will be used as a kind of cushion for sitting on the floor of a yurt. And indeed, it's not just the form that seems American to me, but these ladies have told me that some of these scraps here have been brought from America. This kind of nice tie-dye pattern has been brought over from the States, but we also have pieces here that are from Turkey, from China, and indeed from Kazakhstan itself, all being woven together into this circular kind of cushioned rug. The patterns themselves, though, are uniquely Kazakh. Here we have this 8-pointed star that is seen all around Kazakhstan as a kind of symbol of unity, in addition to our horn-like patterns that are seen on nearly every Kazakh textile, the OU örnek. To learn more about Kazakh traditions, we've come to the mountains outside of Tolgar, a suburb of Almaty, to a special kind of camp that Kazakhs call an ethno-aul. Ethno refers to ethnography, the study of the traditional way of life of the Kazakh nomadic people, and aul is a kind of traditional yurt camp. So an ethno-aul is this special kind of Kazakh village where you can come and learn about this ancient way of life. Though it seems it won't be so simple to get in, as the gates are guarded by these fearsome Kazakh warriors, but let's see if an open sesame will do the trick. Open sesame! Thank you guys for letting us through. Wow, and look at this guy. Look at this fearsome security guard we have here. Hello. Hey! This is a great Kazakh tradition I've always loved. It's a little bit dangerous. They pelt you with these little candies. It's called shashu. And you'll see this at any Kazakh wedding, at any kind of Kazakh celebrations. And look, I caught myself a little pineapple candy. Let's go. Raknet. This kind of ethno-village is the only place in Kazakhstan where you can see certain Kazakh rituals without being invited to a private family function. Here, for example, we got to see the Tusao Kesu ceremony, where a family celebrates a young toddler's first steps by cutting a ribbon between his legs. In another tradition, young boys are sat on a special saddle made of wood called an ashamai, placed on a 3-year-old horse and ridden around the village to mark their first horse ride. The horse is at the center of many nomadic traditions, and at the ethno-village, you can even see a famous dance called the Karajorga that, get this, the performers do on horseback. In this corner between two yurts, we can see two older Kazakh women who are doing something that you don't see that often in Kazakhstan anymore, because the whole art of working with wool has almost been lost in the last few decades, but is now being revived. Wool is, of course, the hair that you get from a sheep, but when it comes right off the animal, it can have little pieces of hay and dirt inside of it. So what she's doing is called sabao. So she's whacking it with these sticks, and it's fun to see a woman of her age with such strength and verve. She's whacking it, and by whacking it repeatedly over some time, you can see that underneath here you have all that dirt and hay stuff is falling out of the wool. So then once it's clean, it's much more usable to make some kind of products out of felt or out of thread. Her colleague over here is, meanwhile, using this kind of spindle to take this wool and make it into usable threads for embroidery, for making some kind of wall hangings or carpets or quilts. So it's a whole process here that they're keeping alive at this kind of ethno-owl. Now I'm going to see if maybe they will give me a shot. 무슨 사박하고 가마? Yeah. You can see it's very comfortably shaped so that you can hold it like this out of some kind of sticks. And then, but it's crazy because when I do it, it totally gets stuck in this wool. This woman has been doing it her whole life. She knows exactly how to do it. I think if I do this, it's all going to go flying everywhere. But I think if you get the right trick to it and you're whacking it with enough force, all of those particles are going to start falling down and you'll get the wool that you want. Now, meanwhile, in this corner, we have this totally different contraption. It has nothing to do with wool making or with textiles, but is used to make kumuz. And you can see it's this kind of barrel. And inside, there's this plunger, okay? So you fill this barrel up with fresh horse milk, what they call salmo, and you put the plunger in, and you plunge it like this, mixing it around 1,000 times a day. And if you mix that around enough, it's going to kind of churn it and eventually make it ferment into the fermented mare's milk that is called kumuz. How can you not love a culture whose traditional food consists of fried donuts? It is my favorite kind of Kazakh food of all time, the barsak. And here we are seeing how it's made. So this young woman here has been cutting up some dough that she's already made. The dough has flour, water, sugar, salt, yeast, and ayran, which is a kind of watery yogurt. She's already prepared the dough, and we're bringing it over here to this kazan, this very thick kind of cast iron pot that is full of hot frying oil. And she's going to use this little tool to spin these pieces of dough around. We can see that as she's put the barsak dough in there, they've started to kind of fill up with air like pillows. And that is the classic touch of the Kazakh barsak, is that on one hand, it's chewy and delicious, but on the other hand, it's airy and light. Well, now that they've been in the oil for just over a minute, they've already browned up into these beautiful little donuts. And I have a firm belief about barsak or any kind of fried dough like this, that they're really the tastiest when they've come right out of the oil. Of course, I don't want to burn my fingers, but when you take some of these guys that have come just out, oh, they're so soft and delicious. And there's nothing better than a warm barsak. Some people like to put some powdered sugar on top to make it a little bit sweeter, but I like it just as is. You only have to be careful because once you start eating these, you can eat the whole bowl. Food is always an integral part of any traditional culture, but there's always been this paradox that when you come to Kazakhstan, it can be hard to find Kazakh food in the restaurants. There's this attitude that amongst Kazakhs, if you want to have Kazakh food, your grandma can cook it at home, and when you go out, you can have pizza and sushi. But there's a whole new generation of young Kazakh chefs and entrepreneurs who are opening up places where you can get really good quality Kazakh food, but with an innovative twist, where they're taking old recipes and making it suitable for a modern fine dining experience. We've come to one such place to try out some classic Kazakh dishes with a modern twist. In the kitchen now, where they have some high hygienic standards. So we have our hairnet on, our nice little lab coat here. Everything is clean and ready to go. We're going to be preparing an unusual Kazakh dish called karın bırmye. Karın in Kazakh means stomach. So we can see that we have this small little sheep stomach here, and it's going to be stuffed with a variety of ingredients. We're starting with some proso millet down there at the end, some lamb, horse sausage called kazi, tomato, and some parsley. All of this is going to come together to make a beautifully tasty dish, and our master chef is Zhenya, who's going to be helping us prepare this today. So Zhenya is going to start by preparing some of the ingredients here. So fast, there it is, ready to go. And you see all of that stuffed into that one little stomach. Traditionally, when Kazakhs would prepare this dish, they would use a big stomach from a sheep, and it could feed a whole family, if not a whole village. But here, they are trying to innovate on these dishes to make it one portion. So we'll see if I'll be able to finish that all on my own, but that's the idea. For our next dish, we've come outside because we're going to be using an ancient kind of Central Asian oven that is called a tandoor. It might sound familiar if you are familiar with Indian cuisine, like a tandoor, or that is used to make tandoori chicken. Here we're talking about a tandoor. The classic dish that we're going to be making here, a kind of classic cut of Kazakh meat, is the ribs, what they call kaburga. So because this kaburga is being cooked inside the tandoor, it can be called kaburga tandoor or tandoor kaburga. Here we can see that he's taking this rib, which is coming from some veal, a young calf. He's rubbing it with some coriander, with some salt, and with some thyme. So very, very basic kind of mix of spices and herbs. But here is the very special Kazakh touch. This milk that he's putting on here is fermented horse milk, a classic of Kazakh cuisine that is called kumuz. And the meat will soak inside that kumuz, kind of soaking up some of that very, very creamy dairy flavor, and it's going to give it that special touch. So imagine that those ribs have been soaking in that kind of marinade for hours, and here is what it's going to look like once it's already been marinated to a suitable degree. He's going to run the skewer right through here, and down it goes into the tandoor. Now, we've already seen a couple meat dishes, but crafting a salad menu for a Kazakh restaurant is actually a bit of a challenge. Because to be honest, Kazakh cuisine relies a lot on cattle, on meat and dairy. And as nomads, Kazakhs did not produce a whole lot of vegetables and fruits with which you can craft a tasty, fresh salad. So in this case, our chef Zhenya has gotten a little bit creative. So he's using some ingredients like the pear here, like some lettuce, some beets. But the Kazakh touch here is a very unusual kind of Kazakh dairy product that you won't find anywhere else in the world, and it's called irimshik. Now, irimshik is what we see here on this plate, and in English I would describe it as something like cheese curd, because you get it by boiling milk for hours and hours and hours until that milk reduces down, the whey gets cooked off, and you're left with this very concentrated, sweet, spongy-like curd product. So because it has this sweet flavor, it's going to turn out to be a very sweet salad. Everything we see here, from the irimshik, which has been stuffed with apricots, to the beets, to this kind of beet-like pancake that they've made here, adds this really nice sweet flavor. When it's all mixed together here, though, with this hot mustard, it's going to be a really interesting taste combination that I'm very curious to try. The first salad with its sweet cheese curds and fruit is for people with a sweet tooth, I think, whereas this salad is really a compliment in that it's for people who like something a little bit more sour. Kazakhs are famous for a whole variety of dairy products that have this classic sourness to them, including this kind of Kazakh yogurt that's called suzbe. Suzbe is actually what we see on this plate here. It's usually a little bit more liquidy, like a classic yogurt, but here they have a special recipe that's kind of solidified it a bit. And so what they're going to do is to cut that up into pieces, add it to this nice fresh salad that he's making here from some pesto, some tomatoes, cucumbers, peppers, cherry tomatoes, and some lettuce greens. All that's going to come together, but it's the sourness of that yogurt. It's that special Kazakh touch that is going to make this salad special. And now for the part I've been waiting for. I have ditched the chef's coat and the hairnet of the modern kitchen to put on something a little bit more traditional. This is a kind of Kazakh skull cap, and here we have this beautiful coat called a shapan, complete with a nice fur collar. So now that I'm dressed up like a khan, I'm ready to eat like one. We have our salads here already prepared, but of course, like any real Kazakh, I'm waiting for the meat. Oh my goodness. This is enough meat, I think, to feed an entire Kazakh family. But it looks amazingly delicious. Look just how well that's cooked in the tandoor, that tandoor kabarga. I can't wait to dig into that. But honestly, this is something that I've never seen before. This dish that they've made out of the stomach, which they call the karın burmi. It's been stuffed so delicately with all those flavors. So check out what we're going to do is we're going to try to just cut right through here. Oh my God. And as we cut, we can see inside of there is all that beautiful kazi, that horse sausage, some of that finely cooked millet. Everything has kind of come together into a beautiful flavor pocket inside of this sheep stomach. It's something that I've never seen before in any kind of Kazakh restaurant. So I'm really looking forward to trying it and see how it tastes. So, of course, we have a flavor that's very familiar to me, which is the horse sausage, kazi. But adding that grain and adding some of that parsley and those other flavors in there, it really all comes together. The fat is there for some flavor, but it's not oily. It's not too much. Everything totally works. Now I'm going to add a little bit of tomato sauce on there. Oh, wow. It's almost like this kind of salsa, but you have this very unusual little package of meat and cereals, and this is what modern Kazakh cuisine is all about. Wow. It's this unexpected combination of flavors, both traditional and modern. Now, I have to give this a shot. Look how beautifully this is. It's like Kazakh barbecue. I dare you to show that to a barbecue chef in America and him not be impressed. That is so well cooked. You know, and they say that the secret is that kuma's marinade. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how that turned out. Oh, already it's so tender. That's amazing. And I think when I'm going to add some of this kind of salsa on there, and you get some potatoes, all of that together, it doesn't get any better in the world of Kazakh cuisine than this beautifully marinated tandoor meat. Now, you can't have a Kazakh meal without tea. So here is traditional Kazakh milk tea, some black tea, and milk. This is something that Kazakhs all around the country drink day in and day out. But an ancient touch that we don't see much anymore is taking some of that same proso millet that we had in our dish and mixing it into the tea. And you're going to get this beautiful, milky, tea, grainy flavor, everything there coming together. And after you've had so much meat, there's no better way to wash it down. Now, a feast like this to me is what epitomizes Kazakhstan and what epitomizes Kazakh culture and hospitality. On this program, we've been able to see traditional crafts and traditional sports, but at the heart of the Kazakh tradition is food and family. And I'm glad that you have been able to come along and discover some of this Kazakh traditions with me today on Discovering Kazakhstan. I'm Dennis Keen. Until next time, Salbo, Baka, and goodbye.